Find him on Twitter at Monsieur C with a triple E. Good morning, Mr. C.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Lagos.
All right, let's begin the show this morning quickly from this day newspaper. Bauchi governor reads riot act as violence erupts over alleged blasphemy. Several houses and shops were razed, and many people, including a pastor, were critically injured when some Muslim youths in Waji local government area of Bauchi state went on a rampage on Friday evening in protest against alleged blasphemy against the Prophet Muhammad. Now, normalcy has returned. However, the governor of the state, Bala Mohammed, warned that he would not spare anyone in the peace of the state. Mr. C, I'm sure you've seen this story. Uh, let's talk about it. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, thank you, Victor. So, as you said, on Friday, there was an attempt by some criminally minded people hiding under the guise of religion to attempt to perpetrate widespread violence and killings. Now, in the latest episode of what seems to be a new trend of fomenting violence in the name of religion, a Christian lady was accused of blasphemy on Friday in Bauchi. What was her offense? She posted a video of an individual who renounced Islam on a WhatsApp group belonging to her workplace colleagues. And on the strength of that, she was accused of blasphemy, but luckily, her colleagues were able to ferry her away to safety. But in the ensuing violence, about 6 shops were destroyed, some people were injured, and kudos to the Bauchi State government, kudos to the Bauchi State Police Command, who stepped in decisively to nip this in the bud. Now, we must make certain things clear. Even though I'm not Muslim, I am aware that the Quran and the Hadith, which are the sayings and the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, clearly show that even the Holy Prophet Muhammad was castigated and insulted by people while he was alive. But they show his reaction to those insults. He never resorted to violence.
Mm-hmm.
So if the man himself, the Holy Prophet himself, never resorted to violence, why do some misguided and criminal elements resort to violence? And this is where the Islamic clerics can help us continue to re-educate, to continue to sensitize. Islam, like I said the other week, is not a lawless religion. There are rules and regulations. There's a procedure. If something like this happens, there are clerics you can take the matter to. There are clerics there's the Sharia court where you can take the matter to. You have the secular court. But this culture of impunity where some misguided criminal elements believe they can take the law into their hands and take the lives of people away should stop. And this is where you contrast the language of the Bauchi state government with that of Sokoto. This was decisive. Now, Sokoto, they were charged with conspiracy and fomenting public disorder, whatever that nonsense means. A life was lost. That the people who were arrested and taken to court should have been arraigned for murder. And we wait to see what happens. But beyond this latest episode, there's a lot of frustration in the land. People have little or no faith in state-sanctioned institutions to bring justice. And this is where the state actors must step up their game and ensure that justice is not only delivered, it is delivered swiftly and timelessly.
Now, this is gradually becoming a trend. It began in Sokoto. We're hearing a different story entirely in Bauchi, where they say, oh, you're insulting the Prophet Muhammad. We might hear of it in another story, but what can be done? What can the governors or the police, the law enforcement do, so we would not have a recurrence of these supposed incidents?
So the truth is, you cannot regulate the behavior of human beings completely. However, you can start by telling the Islamic clerics to continue to teach the people that even if you perceive that the Holy Prophet has been insulted or the religion has been insulted, by a non-believer. These are the appropriate measures to take. These are the appropriate people to speak to. Then the security agencies must be made to understand clearly that their first job is to ensure that there's no breakdown of law and order before they then get into the nitty-gritty of determining who's wrong, who's right.
All right.
Okay, so let's take a look at our next story. This one comes in from the Punch newspaper. Gunmen abduct another Anambra politician, shoot his only son. Now, the abducted man, Uzozie Chukwujeku, is a special advisor to a former chairman of Neri South local government area of Anambra State. Now, the gunman who abducted him shot his only son in the stomach for refusing to open the gate for them when they invaded the area. Now, this comes, by the way, um, after 6 days beforehand when a gunman abducted another lawmaker in the state, and that was Okechukwu Okoye, and we all know what happened to him. He was beheaded and his corpse dumped along the road in the state on Saturday. So Saturday was not a good day, but then it was also followed by Sunday, where we saw the killing of 7 people, at least in various communities across the states, once again by gunmen of unknown origins. But Mr. C, let's face it, the tensions are rising in the southeast. We're seeing, it seems like we can't go a day without hearing news of another attack. Please, I would love to get your thoughts on what is going on right now.
Okay, thank you, Shokpan. So, first of all, our thoughts go out to the family of the late Mr. Okechukwu Okoye, who was not only abducted but beheaded in a very gruesome manner.
Absolutely.
Now, even before the election of the current governor, Governor Chukwuma Soludo, Anambra has been under siege, particularly in the southeast. All sorts of unknown gunmen armed to the teeth have been operating freely in Anambra.
Now, Mr. C, one thing I want to ask, unknown gunmen, it's really become a very, very convenient banner or umbrella to use. Now, even just going by social media and then going by this article, even we're seeing IPOB, hashtag IPOB trending. Even this article, in fact, it just kind of just takes a skip, leap, and a jump to go to IPOB.
Okay, so remember that there had been a sit-at-home order for a very long time in the southeast, and it was particularly enforced in Anambra. Now, Governor Soludo enters office, and he sits down with Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of IPOB, that supposedly gave the order, and says, "Look, this is hurting the East. This is hurting our regional economy. It has to stop." And IPOB, through Nnamdi Kanu, says, "No more sit-at-home." And Governor Soludo then went a step ahead, declared an amnesty for the unknown gunmen, because the general belief then was that these unknown gunmen were in fact members of IPOB, or the Eastern Security Network, which is the military wing of IPOB. Well, guess what? The attacks have not only increased, they're designed to foster a sense of continuing and persistent insecurity. And it's a view to make this government particularly look weak. Now, the security agencies need to step up their game. These guys are not ghosts. They operate from locations. You need to find those locations. And for as long as they continue to perpetrate acts like this, they remain liable to have their day in court and to answer for their crimes. Now, what is happening in the southeast requires a political solution. You're not going to get it through a legal solution. Some elements, some people in the southeast believe that the southeast has not been treated properly by the Nigerian state. Whether those beliefs are true or not, they're beliefs that have to be addressed. But so far, the Nigerian state hasn't adequately addressed those beliefs. That's why you have groups like IPOB gaining the attention of the people in the southeast. Now, IPOB comes up with a narrative, no matter how skewed or biased it is. Where's the federal government's response to that? Rather than engage them, if you want to capture the minds of any human being, you don't do it by force. You have to speak. Think of all the demagogues through history, Adolf Hitler, Napoleon.
Now, Mrs. E, what I would say to this or ask with regards to what you've just said, some believe that some feel that they have not been treated fairly in that area. But yet, look at the attacks and who exactly is being attacked here.
So,
How does that tally with that?
so these attacks, right? There are several interpretations you can give to them. One is the people who complain that they've been marginalized can't even sort themselves out. So until you sort yourself out, you cannot be considered for anything. Now, two, if you don't want them to articulate, if you want to disorient your enemy from taking a position against you, you sow confusion and violence in his camp. Because whilst he's attending to the violence and the confusion, he's distracted. That he cannot focus with what he should normally be addressing his attention to, and that he cannot achieve what he ordinarily should achieve.
All right, let's look at some of the messages on WhatsApp real quickly. Dami Mola from Ikeja says, let's stop beating around the bush. Nigeria has a religious radicalization problem that's been watered by our elite. We're gradually becoming Pakistan on steroids. Femi comes in with this one: when clerics radicalize followers who unfortunately rely on their clerics for religious direction based on the fact that they are not grounded about the tenets of their religion. Perhaps this is what happens.
Whilst Yinka Bully says, Mr. C, well said. However, we also need to talk to ourselves that religion is sometimes is meant to be approached with tact and caution. When you post a video of someone who stopped being a Muslim on a public WhatsApp group in a northern state where religious issues are delicate issues, what exactly are you trying to achieve? And BDA comes in, says, okay, we'll be discussing this later on, but let's just read it now. Touching on one of our latest stories, says on education, the UK spends $2,000 per head annually, whilst Nigeria spends $2 per person. This does not even consider the quality and spread of education. Nigeria has created a monster by uneducating its population. So no wonder our people are acting worse than barbarians. Basically, this is mischanneled anger and frustration soaked in unadulterated ignorance. And that is what PDA has to say.
Now, Ade comes in with this one. It says the problem of Islam are Muslims with little or no knowledge of Islam that don't take the time to understand the religion and take laws into their hands based on teachers who are somewhat radical in their teachings.
Sarah says on the blasphemy issue, some people really need to control what they say and what they post on social media so that criminally minded people will not have an excuse to perpetrate evil. I think what you will find, Sarah, is that criminally minded people will find any excuse to do what it is that they are predisposed to do.
So we take this other one. It says there are clear instructions in the Quran and the Hadith to subjugate non-believers. Femi, I don't know where we're going with that.
Okay,
but hey, let's get back to the Punch newspaper. This article in Nigerians spend $221 million on foreign education in 3 months. An analysis of data obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria showed Nigerians spent at least $220.86 million on foreign education between December last year, 2021, and February this year, 2022. This is according to the CBN data on the amount spent on educational service under the sectorial utilization for transactions valid for foreign exchange for December 2021 to February 2022. Mr. C, two things come to mind. Could it be because of the persistent ASU strikes, or academic union strikes in the country, or they need to get one better life outside of Nigeria, or perhaps quality education in the US or in Canada as also a way of, in local parlance, Jagba?
Okay, thank you, Victor. So it's a number of issues, and it includes the two issues you've enumerated. Now, we must note first of all that this figure is only what the CBN has. I can guarantee you at least double or triple this figure was gotten from the black market. Easy. I haven't even spoken to the crypto section of the economy, because the truth of the matter is the Nigerian educational system, at least the public one, is in a hotness, real hotness right now. ASO has been on strike for at least the last 3-4, at least since the beginning of this year, there's been no school for the public universities. Now, this has a multiply effect down the line. This, the undergrads don't graduate on time. When they eventually graduate, they're too old to be employed by the seemingly good employers like the PwCs, the big firms in all the sectors, because they have they have a maximum age requirement as at the time of applying. So you then have a huge section of fresh graduates who are literally in limbo. Now, a number of the Western countries are now offering tracks to residency from Europe to North America. And one of the means to get there is through education. It is no secret that getting foreign education improves your chances in life, especially in Nigeria. Showing up with a degree from a top school in the UK or the US, when you show up for an interview, you're literally moving to a stage where all that needs to be sorted out is salary and resumption. There's no dispute as to quality or competence. I wish the same could be said for some Nigerian universities. And it's a sad thing, and more people will run out of Nigeria to attend foreign schools until we fix our problems. And to fix our problems, we need money. And right now, we seemingly don't have a lot of that money. But when we hear stories every day of one individual takes X amount of money, another individual takes Y amount of money, you then ask yourself questions. You're forced to ask yourself questions. One, is it in this same country that there's no money? Two, what exactly am I still doing in this country? You're literally forced to ask yourself that question because the people we've tasked with representing us with administering governance don't seem to get the picture.
There you have it.
I, I don't know what to say, people. So I will leave it up to you. We will leave it up to you. Make sure you send your messages in via YouTube, via Twitter, and via WhatsApp as well. You know the details. If you don't care, they are. For WhatsApp, the number is 08079. Wait, what? 0809 4440981. I don't know what number I was calling before. On Twitter, we are at Smooth91FM, hashtag Freshly Press 981. And you know YouTube, you can find us on the app. We are Smooth981FM Lagos. You can leave a comment up on the live stream. Okay, so very quickly, let's get into our next story, which comes in from the Premium Times. Passport issuance, Nigeria immigration introduces tracking system. Now, the acting Comptroller General of the NIS, Issa Idris, disclosed this during a brief media interaction on Saturday evening, saying that since the launch of the online appointment system by the agency, the allegations of corruption and harassment against his personnel have significantly reduced. And he also appealed to Nigerians as well to, actually stick to the rules and I quote, stop inducing our officers. So he said, you don't need to offer anyone any cover. All you need to do is log onto the website, upload the required details, see an immediate response on the status of your passports. Mr. C, it seems like the Comptroller General has identified a problem, and the problem is the people. And now we're automating things. Your thoughts?
Okay, thank you, Shokpa. So this is a very good move by the NIS, and I'm just wondering why it took so long to get it in play. Now, we all know what the previous regime, what the previous situation was at any of the immigration services offices. It was just pure chaos and disorder. And in the midst of that chaos and disorder, a culture of bribe taking and bribe giving was fostered and implemented. Because to avoid the chaos and the disorder, you would pay money, you would willingly pay money to avoid that chaos and disorder and get your passport out on time. Now, they've had to meet up with the times. They've now commenced the process of automating their processes. And this is very good because beyond this, you can apply for a passport. Now you can track it just like your local services. You order a good, you can track it online. So you know when to collect it. You're not going every day checking, where's my passport, where's it? And it's a very good move. Now, the second thing they've done is they've now made it mandatory, or they're going to make it mandatory, that you preload your NIN once it has been verified before you pay for the passport application. Because what has happened, what they've noticed is people who pay for the passport application then had problems verifying the NIN. So now you sort that out before you pay, which is also instructive because it shows that this present controller general, even though he's acting, is receiving feedback and is responding to it. It's one thing to receive feedback, it's another thing to act on it. But he's acting on it, and we can only encourage public officers like this who are ready to do the job, who are ready to make things better than they met them, so that when they leave a much better institution behind them.
Well, this doesn't stop Nigerians from actually paying for what they call express. I want my passport to come out on time. But well said, Mr. C.
And that's one is now an individual thing. I think too often we tend to like to outsource the responsibility, the
Exactly.
burden of
We
responsibility.
just want it fast.
But
We don't
we
want to wait.
all know that when it comes to issues of corruption, bribery, misappropriation, all of that, we also need to take a good look at ourselves as individuals and see how best we can contribute to society, to the society that we want. Very quickly, going over to Twitter, Zeman says the security situation in the country and very poor state of education is more than enough reason for honest, hardworking people to run away from the country.
Well, he's highlighted two reasons there, perhaps why Nigerians are leaving in droves. Well, we have this one from Yemi in Marina says, this passport issuance is audio as far as I'm concerned. I tried to renew my passport and couldn't get a date until July. I had to travel to another state where they have not automated and even paid 50K for expedited service. God bless Nigeria. Exactly what we were talking about
You
here.
just said
I
that.
told you I went to renew
Interesting.
my passport recently.
Yes, and he also got the July dates. Oh wow, it is. I'm one of those more Nigerians that will soon run out. Thank you. I can confirm that this new, and the other message he sent says, I can confirm that this new automated system of applying for passports is very efficient. I used it and also shared the link with some family members and friends, and the results were generally positive. Okay, that's good. Thank you for that feedback.
Okay,
Very
on
interesting.
education, those students who wrote JAM last year have not resumed 100 level till date. Another JAM has been written in the past 2 weeks, and more students will leave the country for education. CBN would record more dollars spent, and that's true. Oh, my goodness. Okay, let's look at one more story. INEC voter registration stalls at 29%, 1 month to deadline. Mr. C.
Okay, so very quickly, Victor, we're not a serious country. I'm sorry to say this. Now, there are voters, about 5 million plus, who've had more than a year to complete their voter registration details. And only 29% of that figure have actually done it. So for the remaining 71%, my single question to them is, in a whole calendar year, you couldn't find an hour to do this. How?
And the registrations are online, first step.
So registration, no, it's actually two ways. It's on the 30th, on the 31st of this month, the online stops.
Right.
So that they are given time to physically register.
So in 7 days.
Yes. Now, the challenge I have is this. This is important to you. We've all seen the effect of poor leadership on this country. We must all take collective decisions to do the right thing by voting. Now, you can't even find the time to register and complete your voters registration. How does this country ever become great? How?
And let's take a look at this article from the Punch newspaper. Lagos to prosecute developer of collapsed building. The state government vowing to prosecute the missing developer identified as Fumble, who was said to be in charge of the three-story building that collapsed and killed 4 laborers in Lagos Island over the weekend. This is very quickly reports.
Our thoughts go out, first of all, to the 4 laborers who died and their families that didn't receive the grace to bear this unfortunate loss. Now, what happened in Lagos Island? A bungalow was converted to a 3-story building. This is just absurd. And what makes it even more absurd is the name of the developer, Fumble. But the Lagos state government should take a decisive step until they start jailing some of these errant and irresponsible developers will continue to sadly witness events like this, because there are no consequences for behavior like this.
All right, very quickly, let's take a look at some of your messages.
Yes.
Regarding the passports, actually, lots and
Lots
lots
of
of feedback.
messages, really.
This message has no name but says renewing passports is so much better now. Kudos to the immigration. You need to start 3 months before the actual expiration date of your passports. Ozzy says, so this passport thing is so bad, and sorry, but the controller is putting a band aid on a knife wound. The tracking does nothing. I mean, getting a data capture was a nightmare. Tracking might take 3 months if care is not taken. I just renewed my passport and paid 140,000 naira. Ozzy, what were you doing?
No, I'm sure you went there in person. If you had done it online, it would cost 70,000 or less. So some of the people on ground, yeah, you
Ozzy
might pay as
says
much
just
as
to
that.
get it out in 2 weeks because I had an embassy appointment.
There you have it. So we have Ade sending in a message. It says the online system works. All right. It says there was always a business process management tool in place. The issue is when backend staff is paid to jump the queue by searching for preferred person's name, cherry picking. The new updates lets users use where they're in the queue and doesn't allow users jump the queue without approval.
Okay, so
Yes.
you get to see where you are and then notice if your number now jumps behind. All right. So a lot more messages, but very little time. And
Let's see if we can squeeze in one more.
which one would you take your pick?
Shegun. There you go. Says with the NIS story, we can see how the good leadership can make a remarkable difference in every situation. But let's just hope it's not just got air at the end of it all.
All right. Thank you so much for sending in your messages. We love to see them coming and we love to take as many of them as possible. Mr. C, thank you for joining us for today.
You're welcome.
Well, there you have it. You can follow Mr. C on Twitter. It's Monsieur C with a triple E. The show comes back again tomorrow at 7:30. I'm Victor Pepple.
And I'm Shopper Martins. Coming up, 8:15. It's time for the locker room.
First Bank.
Thank you, Mr. C. As always, brilliant analysis.
You're welcome.
The headlines. The
Oh,
stories.
it is.
Thank you, you too, for joining us.
What's